I wanted to take a minute and just look at the rankings real quick. I was just doing a little math. There's 11 divisions. There's only 15 represented in the rankings per division. So it's 165 people total. I'm not entirely sure how many people are on the roster right now because they keep, constantly signing people, letting people go, mostly signing new guys. I know there's over 700. I think maybe like 720, something like that. But there's only 165 that are on the rankings, which is pretty crazy because some of the people they're signing are just, you've seen a lot of them lately. They'll be 15-0, 11-0, and they're beasts. They got whatever number of fights, but a lot of experience, but they're not even on the rankings. That's what I'm trying to say. So the pound for pound for the men hasn't changed. You still got Islam up at the top, which he hopefully is going to be fighting in another couple months. John Jones, we're really not sure where that's at. Leon's got to be fighting Bilal pretty soon. So, and Alex is fighting soon. But flyweight, there's only these two changes. You got Vorak. I don't know if it's supposed to be Dvorak, maybe, but Vorak, I guess. D's are usually silent. Again, I'm an American. Who knows? I just pronounce it however. And then I don't even know how you say his name. Suminerja G something, the Tibetan Eagle. Okay, another one of those guys that's, he's 16-6, but he's been around a long time. He's good. Everybody in the top 15, other than the women are different. And I think that's what people don't put into perspective. I understand sometimes they're kind of holding and there's not a lot of action and all that stuff. But obviously men's fights and women's fights are two different things. When you get the outlier, like Amanda Nunes, for example, and you see she's just like a beast, or there's probably 5 or 6 women fighters that are just off the charts and it's just a brawl the whole time. That's really a standout. Joe Rogan referred to it one time as like, most men in the UFC can beat any woman in the UFC, but there are some women in the UFC that can beat some of the men, and that would be like Amanda Nunes. She can beat some of the men that are MMA fighters in general, which is amazing. Like, how badass is she? Seriously. But, okay, so you got that, but you don't have any movement this last week in bantamweight or featherweight. In lightweight, nothing. And then welterweight had some good movement. So you have Joaquin Buckley, which he was just on... He was definitely on with Bisping. And I'm trying to remember. He was on something else recently, too, I think. The MMA Hour. He was not ranked. He rose up to 11 because, if you remember, last weekend he beat Vicente. So Vicente dropped 3 points. Yeah, Neil Magny came up 1 to 11. It says 11. It's supposed to be 12. I didn't know they put 2 11s ever. Probably not. I'm assuming that it should be 12. I don't think you can tie in rankings as far as I've ever noticed. And then you got Kevin Holland dropped 1, which kind of sucks, man. I love Kevin Holland. He's awesome. Middleweight, you didn't have any. Lightweight, you didn't have any. And then heavyweight, nothing. And then you get into some movement here for the women's pound for pound. You got Farrow popped up 2, which is pretty wild. To move higher in the pound for pound is definitely a slower process. Raquel Pennington popped up 1, and then Erin Blanchfield dropped 2, obviously, from her loss. The women's strawweight, nothing. And then quite a bit of movement there in the women's flyweight. Farrow went up 1, Blanchfield dropped 1, and Thug Rose went up 1, and Caitlin went down 1. Such a toss-up of that's her new last name. So it's like, I heard people tripping over it left and right because she just changed it. And then nothing in the women's bantamweight. So I'm wondering, with all these good people that are getting signed, because I'm sure you've noticed that it really has happened in the last couple months, that there are serious killers that have been signed. It's going to be interesting seeing the rankings moving a lot, because there are also a lot of people that are kind of at the end of their career. You know, John Jones is getting real close to it. Volkanovski's up there. Max Holloway. Justin Gaethje has talked about, only a couple more fights. Beneil Dariush has spoken about, how much longer do I want to stay around? I mean, there are a lot of people that have been names that have been around and you're used to that are, Chris Weidman just fought the other day. He's talking about, what he wants to do with Sende Luque. There are so many, and there are killers coming up that will start making their way into the rankings. I'm so excited for the next couple of years. I really am.